Hello and welcome to the Moviescramble podcast. You join us in the first week of 2026. Yes, we have made it. We have got through the dark years and we are into one which is full of light and brightness, and nothing bad seems to have happened in the first week or so. So we're doing pretty well. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm just getting a call from Greenland. What are they saying? As you can tell from the laughter that you already hear, we are in very good spirits, and I am joined today by European Traveller of the Year, I think, more than anything else. Been out and about, doing lots of stuff, having lots of fun. Mary, how the hell are you?
I'm going to Europe while it still exists before Trump decides he needs that as well for security reasons. I'm very well. Obviously, it's very bleak January day. Wouldn't be anything else in Glasgow or in Scotland, indeed, but very much looking forward to not only just chatting to you, but actually getting the podcast up and running again for the year and talking about all the films that we enjoyed last year as well.
Yes. 2026 is looking quite interesting, but I think we will cover that in a separate pod. We will do a wee sort of preview of what's to come, especially with the fact that there's lots of award ceremonies coming up over the next couple of months. BAFTAs, Oscars, Golden Globes, all this good stuff. And we've already had some already. So yes, it's promising to be a reasonably good year if we actually make it through it. So yes. So today, as was hinted, we are going to be doing a review of 2025. We have produced our year-end lists, and the start of the conversation will be based on those, and then we'll have a sort of general chat about some of the favourite films and some of the genres and things like that. So the films that we really, really enjoyed. So, as I say, Mary has produced a top 10 list. I have produced a top 10 list, which I haven't published, but it has been produced. And Thomas has also produced a top 10 list. So what we're going to do is we'll go through the lists from 10 through to 1, and we will discuss the films where there is no overlap, in that whatever film is higher in a person's list, we'll discuss it at that point rather than at, discussing and rediscussing, saying, we talked about that earlier, because then we'll be here for fucking hours. We take that sort of approach, So we shall start with the number 10s. Mary, you had Weapons at number 10, which we will talk about later.
Yeah.
Thomas had Bring Her Back at number 10. Again, we'll talk about that later. I had Highest to Lowest at number 10, the Spike Lee film with Denzel Washington, which came out on Netflix about 3 months ago, and it's a fantastic movie. It's a loose remake of a Kurosawa film, High and Low, and also based on an Ed McBain novel as well. It's about a situation where this music mogul believes his teenage son has been kidnapped, only to find out that it wasn't actually his son. It was the son of his chauffeur and sort of confidant. He has been killed. He has been abducted, and there's a ransom of $17 million requested. And at the same time, the main character is fighting to take back control of the record company that he initiated and made successful back in the 70s. So it's all this. There's like lots of things going on. It's very stylish and everything. And Denzel Washington is fantastic, and it's just such a good movie. And it was one that I kind of was looking forward to, but with a wee bit of trepidation, because sometimes, Spike Lee has a very good track record, but sometimes, especially if it's one of these ones that's going straight to Netflix and things, you think, well, did they not have the same faith in it, or were they just going to Netflix because they had the money in order to actually do this? And in that case, is it a bit of a vanity project, or is it on point? And it's totally there. It's really, really good. It's a cracking movie and some like cracking performances as well. So yes, that was my number 10. Take it you haven't seen that
That's a
at all,
good pick. No, I just haven't heard of it. And I think that's, do you know what? I think we're going to hear more and more of this for like in the year, like not just the year ahead, but the years ahead, especially with obviously, I know the Netflix Warner Brothers deal is still sort of in flux and they're ironing that out. But I do think there is this kind of like, is this on a streaming platform because it wasn't good enough for cinema? Like that still is a lingering thought, but actually, as you've said, it could just be like budget reasons or, you know, maybe conventional studios that want to back something that's seen as a bit edgy or a bit out there.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see more and more. Like, I know there's a sort of purist version of cinema where, for example, Netflix films should not be nominated for Oscars or whatever. But I think the tide is turning on that.
Oh, definitely is. Yeah, I think so. I think more and more filmmakers are going to the streaming platforms because I know they're kind of cutting back, a lot of them, but they're still inviting these filmmakers in, and for the most part, they're not interfering with the output from the films. Can be a good thing and a bad thing. Having seen The Old Guard 2, it can be a pretty bad thing.
Oh,
yeah. In general, if you've got faith in the filmmakers, they do generally produce something. And I think a lot of filmmakers, it's a balance act. Yes, there's the prestige of getting something shown in the cinema, but there's also the fact that they've got a potential audience of a couple of billion people like from day one, which is a big draw because then that can influence negotiations for a future film, especially if something's really popular. So, so yes, it's quite interesting. So yes, okay. So moving on to number 9. Your number 9 was Sorry Baby.
God, this film just ripped at my heart and stamped on it, but then somehow put me back together again by the end. I absolutely love this film. So the writer, director, actor Eva Victor is actually on the awards circuit at the moment because this is getting a lot of attention from things like Golden Globes. I think it might even be BAFTA longlisted as well. And I think it's one of these films a little bit similar to sort of like The Worst Person in the World, in that it kind of cuts to the core of what it means to be in your 30s and dealing with like how boring life is, like in the nicest way possible, but like you're going to your job, you're going to your house, you know, your friends, your friendship circle that might have seemed so tight in uni has changed because everyone's off doing different things and they're all at different stages in life. Some people might still be figuring out what they want to do, some people might have kids, you know, and it all sort of moves at different paces. And then you sort of add into this kind of flashback sequence where her character deals with a very sort of traumatic life event that she can't quite process, and it's just, oh, honestly, it's so good. Like the performances are absolutely incredible. It's very sort of gentle and naturalistic, like it's not big and glossy. There's a lot of like really intimate close-ups. She herself is just so magnetic in the lead, but I think this could have easily been a sort of like cliched type of like, oh my god, aren't your 30s a drag type of film, but actually it was just really beautiful and powerful and will make you cry.
Nice. The film is currently playing on Mubi.
Yes.
Had it. I think they backed it. And obviously they're backing it for the awards run and everything as well. It's been quite prominent on their website and everything. I haven't seen it yet. I made the foolish attempt to watch it at like 11:30 at night and didn't last after about 20 minutes, and it was a film that I think deserves your attention. So I will go back and watch it at some point and report back as to what I thought. Thomas's number 9 was Superman, first blockbuster film of the lists. Now, I enjoyed Superman. I thought it was a fun film. It wasn't as serious or as dark as sort of previous DCEU films or anything like that, and it kind of marked a new way forward, I think, for them, and it's obviously been very successful. So yeah, I was quite interested in that film. I didn't have it in my top 10, but it was kind of an honourable mention. It was kind of floating around there, which I just really enjoyed it. Yeah, and I'm quite interested to see what's coming next. Obviously, it's Supergirl that's coming in the summer, and then we've got a whole slate of films following on from that, but they're not piling on with like 3 films in a year kind of idea. They're kind of developing it slowly, shall we say. So, and the Supergirl film looks kind of in the same sort of vein as Superman in terms of you can't really tell from trailers and stuff, but it's got a similar sort of sensibility in terms of the humor and the approach to the whole sort of superhero thing as well. So yeah, quite looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 9 is Materialists. It's a romantic drama comedy film, which really surprised me. It's based around the dating scene, sort of high-end dating scene in New York, and it's been directed by Celine Song, and Dakota Johnson is a matchmaker. She puts people together, but at the same time, she doesn't really have any sort of relationships in her life. She meets this very sort of eligible bachelor, and they start having a relationship, and it's Pedro Pascal in one of his 17 film performances this year.
Yeah.
But in the background, she also has an ex-boyfriend that she actually moved to New York with years previously, but broke up because he had a distinct lack of ambition, and she basically wanted to earn a lot of money and have a relationship as well, and she couldn't do both of them with him. And it just so happens that he is Chris Evans. So she's kind of stuck between these two guys as well. And there's a nice sort of thing about like wee man syndrome and things like that as well. There's a whole sort of subplot about that, about how people actually get their legs lengthened in order to not be 5'6" or whatever they want to be, like slightly bigger and everything. And it all plays very nicely, and it's just like a really, really good film, and the performances in it are excellent, just really good. Chris Evans is fantastic in it, and I know he's stretching himself further and further away from the sort of the superhero stuff and the things that he's doing, and he has done that. I mean, obviously the likes of Knives Out, and he's been
so good in that,
doing dramas all over the place, but this was a very, very good performance here as this sort of no ambition actor who is still sharing a flat with like 3 other guys kind of ideas. But yeah, it was really good. It kind of passed a lot of people by, I think, but I kind of stuck with me. I really enjoyed it.
It wasn't in the cinema long enough for me to see it, but again, it was one of these things where I saw loads of clips from the press tour, and the chemistry between the 3 of them was really, really enjoyable to watch. Like, there was a clip, and I'll never forget it, Pedro Pascal introduced himself, but obviously with like a slightly more like Latin accent, so Dakota Johnson does the same for her name as well. And then Chris Evans just goes, "And I'm Chris Evans," at the end, in this like pure flat American accent. It was really good.
Nice. Okay. At number 8, we have Late Shift for You, Mary.
Yeah.
So tell us about this.
That was such a good film. That's one of those films where you don't even realise you're holding your breath while you're watching it, because it's just so tense. So this is from the Swiss writer-director Petra Volpe, and it stars Leonie Benesch, who was in The Teacher's Lounge, which was the Glasgow Film Festival 2024, and basically it just covers a single shift in a hospital, but it's very sort of like, it's not a documentary, but it's very documentary style, the way that it's shot. You know, this nurse is obviously going through different stages of her shift. For example, they're short-staffed, there's patients that are dying, patients that won't behave, you know, patients that are insisting that, you know, or rather visitors that are insisting that their mother needs X, and it's just the sort of chaos of what it's like to work in a hospital these days. And, you know, we've talked about films that talk about sort of like politics. This very definitely goes into the sort of modern healthcare crisis, and, you know, a nurse who's extremely overworked and completely exhausted and overwhelmed. But it's not sort of melodramatic. As I say, it's very sort of documentary style. We get moments of real silence with the lead character, where she's sort of trying to take a breath to process everything that she's seen. And I just thought Leonie Benesch is kind of like, we follow her throughout this, and I just thought her performance was so good, and it was so well shot that it deserved to make a top 10 list. I'm not sure if it's streamed anywhere just now. I had got a copy of it just through a PR copy, but I know it did the festival circuit sort of the year before. But I would love for more people to see this, because I just think it's brilliant.
Nice. I had not heard of this at all. I'd obviously missed it at the festival. Yeah, sounds excellent. Sounds really good. Yeah, and hopefully we shall see more of these films turning up on streaming services. It seems to be very limited what we actually get, considering there's so many sort of streaming platforms out there. And there's one called, is it Classicy? It's called, it keeps getting advertised on Facebook for me, and it's a like Eastern European Baltics, things like that. And it's all these type of films, but I think it's hindered in the fact that you can't actually get it on like as an app or anything. So you have to watch it,
see.
Through your laptop or whatever. So it's not all that brilliant. So yeah, bit of a shame. Okay, moving on. Thomas's number 8 is Dangerous Animals, which I have not seen. I
Me
don't
neither.
suspect you've seen. It's surprisingly enough a horror film with a shark.
Oh, for God's
Basically,
sake.
Jai Courtney is a captain in a boat who actually turns out to be a serial killer as well when he feeds people to sharks. That's basically the
that is the most semi-coded film I think I've ever heard.
yeah. So it's meant to be very, very good, and it's one of these films that it was out quite early in the year, I think, and I'm not sure. I haven't seen it on a streaming platform anywhere just to view rather than like obviously to rent. They'll probably be available to rent and stuff, but I'm sure it'll be there. It's one. It sounds like a Shudder type of acquisition, that kind of thing. And that's not putting a film down in any way. I really like the stuff that
I love Shudder.
Get on Shudder. It's just brilliant, yeah. So we're not putting it down in any way at all. My number 8 is Nosferatu, and we shall speak about that later on.
Oh, that's high up a list. That's very high up a list.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Number 7's. Your number 7's I Swear, which will feature a little later as well, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yes, it will. Simi's number 7 is Companion.
A great film. Yeah.
The horror film that we can't... Well, can we talk about it now? Can we...
Yeah, we talked about it on the Keeper podcast. We did the Final Girls.
Of course we did.
And I did pick up for that, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like it spoils itself in the first 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So you're like, we're good.
Yeah. So if anybody doesn't know, she's an android. She's not. She's not the perfect companion or anything. But yeah, it's a cracking wee horror film.
So good.
Really, really good. Some really good performances. Jack Quaid is sort of he's carving himself out this wee niche for himself, being like a complete dick in every film he's in. And obviously, quick mention to Novocaine there as well, because obviously that was one that he did.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Where he was a complete dick, but he was actually the sort of the main protagonist in it.
Yeah.
My number 7 is A Real Pain, which
that just missed my list.
Yeah, I mean that was the first week of January.
Yeah.
Last year that came out, and it kind of stayed with me all through the year. Basic plot of the film is 2 cousins go to Poland to do a tour of the places where their relatives, it was their grandmother, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Lived, and they go there and they go to the camps and things, and at the same time they're reconnecting and not reconnecting, and one of the cousins is a bit of a fuck up and the other's very settled. Directed by Jesse Eisenberg, who has done a fantastic job in this, and it got Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, Kieran Culkin.
Yeah, just it's a fantastic film. It doesn't try to do anything too fancy. It just tells the story. It just lets the story tell itself. Interestingly enough, Jesse Eisenberg's next film is a musical. So he's directing a musical. So yeah, that should be interesting as well. There's not very much known about it. It's just called Unnamed Jesse Eisenberg Musical at this point, but it's coming out this year at some point. So
fantastic.
Yep. I don't know if it's what music it's using or anything. It's all been sort of kept very quiet. So
I feel like he's the right like he's neurotic enough to want perfection, and musicals require perfection. So I feel like he's got the right personality to direct. I thought that I loved the press tour for that film and seeing the two of them together. And because they're exactly like their character, obviously exaggerated versions, but they are exactly like their characters. Like there's a video where Kieran Culkin talks about getting to the airport 10 minutes before his flight. That's what he does. And you can actually see Jesse Eisenberg crumble. Like that's not how he operates. It's brilliant. So good.
Yeah. Oh, it was excellent. I really enjoyed that. And it's quite something when a film stays with you, when you're thinking you're in listen, you're not just thinking of the last 6 months and stuff. You think, that was really good. Same idea as The Holdovers the previous year, because that came out in January, and that was like one that still resonated towards the end of the year. So yeah, it's all good. So your number 6 is Pillion. Yeah.
So if anyone thinks it's just like a sexy BDSM film, you would be absolutely correct. But it's also a family drama and a relationship drama and a sort of story of self-discovery. So yeah, Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling play Ray and Colin respectively. Ray is in a biker gang and he's looking for a sub because he is a dom. And so essentially they enter into this arrangement, I suppose you would call it that, or relationship. And it's about Colin working out if that's the relationship that he wants in his life. And he's got like quite an overbearing mum and dad. There's an absolutely tremendous Sunday dinner scene, which is worth seeking out this film alone for. But it's sexy, it's funny, it's really light, but it's also really emotional. And I think it's just a very good representation of like queer love stories that, you know, without like making a big inverted commas thing about it. Like it's not doing this because it's trying to win awards or, you know, it's trying to be edgy. That's just the story. And it's just a very, very good film. So yeah, I think people should definitely seek it out. It's also a directorial debut for Harry Lighton as well.
Nice. It completely passed me by. It was in the cinema for about 25 minutes or something.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see it at all, which is a bit of a shame. And it's kind of in the cusp of, I think it's about to come out on like home platforms and things. But yeah, I'll catch up on it soonish, as soon as I can.
It's not a family get together watch, I will say that.
No. Well, that's never a bad thing, you know. You do need to. It's all very well having these type of films like where it's fun for the whole family, but yes, it's good to have these kind of films. It's good to have these type of films as well, which kind of stretches you a wee bit and makes you think a wee bit as well, which is always good. Thomas's number 6 is Predator, Killer of Killers, the first of 2 Predator films this year. This was an animated anthology film which was in 3 parts and told the story from the perspective of the Predator itself. I have not watched it yet, but
I've never heard of it. Didn't know it existed.
It's on my list. Yeah, it was billed as the surprise Predator film of the year because it was known that Predator Badlands was going to be coming out, but then the director Dan Trachtenberg basically announced, oh, by the way, there's another one coming out before it, and everybody went, what are you talking about? And it turns out it's this animated film, the animation style, and it's really good. It's on Disney Plus at the moment.
Right, okay.
Because they own all the Predator, Alien stuff and all that. So it's been a pretty good year for Predator stuff because it's like both films have been from the perspective of the Predator itself and the hunt and sort of becoming a fully fledged member of the tribe and all this kind of stuff. And they both work really well, but obviously the animated one is very, very stylish and everything. So yes, very good. My number 6 film is Black Bag. I loved that film. The Soderbergh spy.
I didn't realise, for some reason, I didn't realise that was 2025, but of course it was because we spoke about it.
We spoke about it, yeah. We did it as a spy double bill.
Yeah,
with the
that was a good double bill. That was a really, really good double bill. It was,
yeah. I really liked this film. A lot of people thought it was sort of very middling. It was just okay, but I really get into it because I like the style of it, and it's very sort of John le Carré sort of sensibility to it. The way that it's a lot of people talking in rooms more than anything else, and there's no action or anything. Well, there was just a wee tiny bit of action where a truck blows up, but that's it. The rest of the time, it's just people talking and sort of working through the problems and everything. And you don't know who to trust. And obviously the central relationship is a marriage, and you don't know if they are actually at odds with each other or they totally devoted to each other as well. Just great performances and just great story. And again, didn't outstay its welcome. It's quite a short film. It didn't need to expand in things. And because it was made kind of independently, it meant that there was no sort of studio pressure to add in like a car chase sequence or or a shootout and things like that. There was no need for that. It was just, this is what the story is, and by the way, you're going to have the start and finish around the dinner table, so you can imagine studio execs going, what are you talking about? No, we can't do that. where are the drones? Where's all the fighting? So really enjoyed it. Loved that movie. Really, really good. So we move on to our top fives.
Exciting.
Your number 5 is Bring Her Back, which is the highest it's in any list.
That film blew me away. Like, I was just not expecting how disturbing it was going to be, because Sally Hawkins I associate with sweetness and light and goodness, and she's basically like a modern day Mary Poppins, and yet in this, like, yes, she's sort of gentle and quirky and funny, but that belies something, really traumatic and dark. And I just thought it was such a fantastic film, the way it was structured, the way that the jump scares were sort of like, they were generous, but they were not all the time. It wasn't, as you say, like the quite loud type of thing. There was some really shocking imagery in this, but it was also like a sort of meditation on like grief and family and loss. So it wasn't just your sort of like typical kind of like horror film in that sense. I thought the performances were excellent. And I'm really excited to see what the Philippi brothers do next. They should probably go to some therapy, given their films they've offered so far. But this absolutely, like, the imagery in this really, really stuck with me. Even the poster alone, you're looking at it going, what the hell is that? But it's so good. I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with you on that one. I will speak a wee bit more about it later on when we're in our other discussions. But yes, very, very good choice. Simi's number 5 choice was Caught Stealing, which I did again, it was one of these ones that was in and out of the cinema. I do have it in my queue to watch, but I've not got around to it. I didn't have enough time the last sort of month or so in order to watch it. But it's, from what I've seen of it, I'm like, want to see this film. It looks really good. I'm really interested in it. Have you seen it?
I haven't. The only thing I've seen is they had a cat in a leather jacket in a car on the red carpet. And I was like, I'm in. I don't even care what this film's about. I want to watch this.
Okay, my number 5 is Frankenstein. I loved that movie. It was that and Nosferatu. It was a toss-up between them in terms of which one would be higher. They were both excellent, both different types of films, but I just like the scope of the Frankenstein film. And I mean, in Guillermo we trust, basically, he can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. And I like the whole, when he goes gothic, all that sort of stuff. It's an absolutely fantastic film. Oscar Isaacs and Jacob Elordi, what a pairing, It's just, Jacob Elordi's had a bit of a year, and he's going to have another bit of a year this year, because he's obviously Heathcliff very soon. So
can't roll my eyes hard enough at that. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's
I know
a
lot of people are excited about seeing that because it's going to be really sexy. But it's funny because now that discussion a while ago about cell phone face, people have said that Margot Robbie has cell phone face, and obviously Heathcliff as well. The casting for that is wrong because he has a person of color. So I kind of don't want to touch that at the moment. I feel like I'm sure it'll appeal to some people. I'm on the fence about it at the moment.
Yes, I can fully understand that. There's been a lot of discussion about that, but let's face it, there's a lot of discussion about all sorts of things that, for just generates column inches more than anything else. On to number 4s. Your number 4 is Sinners, which we shall discuss a little later. Ooh. Thomas's number 4 was Warfare, the Alex Garland. That is a fantastic movie. It basically is an operation within, which it's not really named where it is, which country or which city or town or whatever, and it's a group of US soldiers who are on a mission and they get attacked, and that is basically the story, and it's just how it unfolds from there. It's based on a real life event, and it was partly directed by a former soldier who was involved in these sort of things, and he's worked with Alex Garland on various things. Like I think he worked on Civil War and things like that with him, and it's just this 30 minutes of calm, and they're just doing what they're doing, and they're in this house and they're just monitoring things, and then it just all goes to hell. And it doesn't all go to hell in like a pretty way or a cinematic way. It's very kind of real, you know, when limbs get blown off or people get shot, they don't just go ouch and then just start firing with the other hand. You know, it's not that kind of thing. People are screaming in this film, and it's just horrible, and just it's really, really tense. It's like absolutely fantastic movie, really good. It only just missed out on my top 10 of the year. That, I mean, Alex Garland again has had a good year with both that and also 20 years later as well. So, you know, he's been kind of up there. So, yeah, all good, definitely. Number 3, Nosferatu, for yourself.
Yeah, are we chatting about that, or is somebody got it higher? I can't remember.
No, you're the one.
I did say this in my top 10. It does feel like this film was made to cater specifically to my tastes. It's a monster movie. There's shadow work. There's period costumes. There's nightmarish visuals. I just think the reveal of Bill Skarsgård was one of the most exciting pieces of cinema, like of the whole year, with, you know, his voice work that he did, the costuming, the prosthetics. And we have to remember this is based on a film that came out, you know, in 1922. And it's a film that's the original is so iconic that it's influenced horror literally since then. And so for Eggers to be bold enough to take a film like that and completely reinvent it and make it his own and not rely on the imagery that we're all really familiar with and to do something so different with it, I just think is absolutely fantastic. It's disorientating, it's dark, it's decaying, the score's really good, but I just think like everyone in this film, maybe apart from Aaron Taylor-Johnson, is at the top of their game. Like the craft is just incredible that's on display here, and it's a film that technically is a Christmas film because there is a Christmas tree in the background of one of the scenes. But I just absolutely loved it. I knew from the minute I sat down in that cinema and the opening scene happens and you get that first jump scare shot of him, and I was like, oh, this is for me. I'm going to love this. And I was not disappointed.
Yes, it was a particularly good film, and it's quite early on in the year, obviously, that we saw this film. It kind of
January the 2nd, I saw it.
Yeah. Wow. It's just, it's incredible that he's making these kind of films. You know, and everybody, it's almost as if he's got this sort of troupe of actors. He brings people back in again and again to do these various films, and they do whatever he says. You know, they're just fully involved because they've got such meaty roles. Even the smaller parts in it are sort of really, really intricate, and they've all got something about them. They're not just there just to be sort of background characters. Just think it's fantastic the way he works. And obviously, if you can get a performance where you're getting somebody to like drop a whole like tonal level in their voice in order to do something, and use like throat singing as a reference and all this sort of thing, absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. Really enjoyed that. Thomas's number 3 was I Swear. It's the highest for that.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of awards consideration for this one. It was long listed for the BAFTAs, and all the publicity and all the chat around it is that it is going to do very, very well because it's such a good film. Now, I have only seen clips of the film. I've not seen the movie itself. What did you think of it?
I went into it because I want to support Scottish films, so I will go and see Scottish films at the cinema. So I went into it not really knowing what to expect, and there was moments where I was laughing. There's moments where I was like shocked at what was happening, and you know, I left this, and it's funny. Everyone who's seen this that I have spoken to about it, everyone has left the cinema with a wee sort of like, you know, bottom lip wobble. It really gets to you, and Robert Aramayo is so good to the extent where I genuinely did not know that he is like from Manchester or something like. And I'm always one of these people where it's, you know, Scottish accents are so hard, and if you can't do it, don't do it. He absolutely can. Like, he is brilliant, and not just the fact that he's taken on the accent. There's the physicality of the tics of someone, you know, with Tourette's. There's the actual Tourette's tics themselves, the verbal tics as well. And he does all of this so incredibly well. And Peter Mullen is great in the supporting cast, and Maxine Peake as well. And it's just, if you remember the documentary that did come out about Dawn in the first place, like it's so touching in a way that just I was not expecting. That it genuinely was one of my complete delights of the year, and I'm so happy to hear my own, obviously not quite the same accent because it is Gala Shields, but I'm so happy to hear my own voice in a cinema screen, and also to hear it doing really well, and audiences up and down the UK and sort of internationally as well really taking it to heart as well. I think it's incredible what it's achieved.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I recently heard an interview with the main actor, and I've only sort of heard his Scottish accent and his very pronounced English accent in The Rings of Power. So when I heard this accent, like say it's a Yorkshire accent, and you're going, what the hell? You know, it comes as a real surprise when you actually hear somebody speaking in their sort of proper voice, their own voice. It's very, very weird at times. It really is. But yes, again, like I mentioned just before we started the pod, we're going to be doing a screening of this at the Kirky Cinema in February. So I will see it then with a crowd, and I think there'll be a decent crowd to see it because a few people have requested it. So, and
brilliant,
yeah, which is a bit weird because it's one of these films that was in the cinema for ages. It was there.
The demand was there.
Yeah, and it was like daytime showings and things like that. And it maybe only be like 1-2 showings a day, but it just seemed to roll on, and all these other films just came and went. And instead, and you're thinking that's the side of something that's obviously built up a bit of an audience, you know. So yeah, very, very good. Okay, my number 3 is Weapons. I loved this film. Right from the opening scene of it, where you see the back of the teacher going into the empty classroom, and then the explanation about why it's an empty classroom apart from one wee boy, and the George Harrison track, obviously, and it just from there, just absolutely fantastic. Loved every single moment of this film. It was so clever. And yet it used sort of horror conventions, and it generated so much talk afterwards. I mean, we had a discussion about it, and there was things that came out in that discussion, obviously to do with like school shootings and all that, which I had no preconception of whatsoever. But having read a wee bit about it since, there's been an awful lot of like talk about it and sort of, well, this means this, and you're kind of thinking, I can see that, but I just did not get it. I kind of just took it at the sort of horror level, and the fact that it was very reminiscent of Stephen King as well. I like the fact it was kind of very much in there as well. So I really enjoyed that film. It was one of the, obviously, if it's at number 3, it's one of the main highlights of the year for me as well. You were the same because we talked about it.
Oh God, I loved it, and it obviously gave birth to the horror icon that is Aunt Gladys. And I'm really pleased to see Amy Madigan getting her flowers sort of in the early kind of awards circuit. I really hope that translates into Oscar nominations as well, because it's about time, as we've said, that horror starts to get the recognition that it did. Fun fact, or maybe this isn't a fact for you, I didn't know this. Do you know that Amy Madigan has been married to Ed Harris for like 30 odd years?
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. And it was something, because I Googled her this week to see her acceptance speech, because she was talking about how some people think that Aunt Gladys is like a sex icon as well, which I thought was really funny. And of course, the first thing that came up was pictures of her and Ed Harris. And I was like, I wonder what they did together. Clicked on it. I was like, oh no, they've been married forever.
Yeah, so, they did marriage.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
I think they may both have been in Pollock, the Jackson Pollock.
Is that maybe what it is?
But yes, I had no idea they were married. But yes,
fun trivia fact for the day then.
And it's nice to see plaudits and recognition for middle-aged women as well, getting,
I know, thank Christ,
getting parts and things, you know, even though it is in a horror film and she's playing like a bit of a strange character, but still, there are obviously roles there for people other than Meryl Streep, so it's all good.
Love it.
Okay, getting near the end now. Number 2 for yourself is Peacock.
Oh, I just need everyone to see this film. So I basically made up a genre of films called European cringe. And if you've seen anything like Ruben Östlund's work, like The Square, that kind of film that makes you physically want to eat your own face because you're dying at what's happening for the people on screen, this is that type of film. So writer-director Bernard Wenger, this is his feature-length debut, and it's basically asking what it means to be your authentic self. And he's cast Albert Schuh in the lead of this film, where basically he is like a pretend date for people, and he goes out and he learns all their friends are interested in X, so he learns all the facts and all of this sort of thing, and he basically is a professional somebody else. And so this film asks, well, what does it mean to be you? And I just think there's so many scenes. In particular, there's a big fancy dinner that his parents are throwing, and the level of second-hand embarrassment is just unreal. And Albert Schuh, who we last saw in All Quiet on the Western Front, is phenomenal in this, physical comedy, verbal comedy, but he's this really charismatic, interesting leading man as well. And you don't know if you should feel sorry for him or if you should be sort of looking away in embarrassment. I just love this. It's so vibrant, it's so colourful, it's so cringy, and it drew me in from the offset. I think his lead performance is excellent. It did the sort of festival tour again. Hopefully it'll come to some streaming services so that more people can see it, but it's a delight from start to finish. As I say, it's one of these things where you want to be eating the inside of your own face. It's so embarrassing.
Nice. I've not seen this, obviously. Hopefully if it does come to something, some service or whatever, I will get a chance to see it. Sounds intriguing. It sounds cringe. It's one of these films that you see the ones that make you feel really uncomfortable. You really don't want to watch them because you know how uncomfortable you're going to feel. I've obviously seen The Square, but yes, and that was, it's not good at all. Yeah, but it's a cracking movie, so you really get something out of it. So yeah, I will look out for this. So hopefully
I feel like it's got movie written all over it, so I feel like it might come to there.
Good, excellent stuff. Thomas's number 2 is One Battle After Another, which we'll speak about in a moment, giving away somebody's number 1, which would be me. My number two is Sinners, which just such a good movie. It came out of sort of all the chat around this film all had to do with the fact that it was a film that featured predominantly black characters, and it was costing so much money, and it was looking as if it was going to fail at the box office, even though it did really well at the box office. And this kind of set some people against it, saying, well, black filmmakers can't make money. Whereas towards the tail end of the year, there was no peeps about the fact that Tron Ares totally failed. Whereas, and it did far worse than Sinners in its first week, yet there wasn't the same level of scrutiny about the budget and all this sort of stuff, which is really horrible. But anyway, aside from that, what you're not going to like about twin brothers, vampires, folk music, and moonshine all in the one film. So yeah, absolutely amazing movie. Yeah. And again, genre filmmaking works really well. It's a lot of the time, it's far more interesting, genre filmmaking, because it uses, in this case, horror in order to tell all sorts of other stories, because you're talking about prohibition, you're talking about the fact that the Ku Klux Klan was around, you're talking about the vampire myths and all that, and people's history and how they conduct themselves in public and in private as well. So there's all that kind of thing sort of swirling in there. Loved the movie. Thought it was absolutely fantastic. And again, obviously we talked about it. So yeah.
I would love to see Best Supporting Actor nod for Miles Caton at any of the major awards events as well. I know he's just won one at the Critics' Choice, I believe, because I think he's absolutely phenomenal in this. And as you say, the discourse around this was so overtly racist and derogatory, talking about box office numbers, black filmmaking, and it's a real two fingers up that it's done so well, but also that it's had this sort of enduring rewatchability about it as well. People love it. It got re-released in the cinemas for Halloween as well. The soundtrack, obviously, everyone absolutely loves. And I just think it's a real two fingers up at those publications that sort of did it dirty before it had even had the chance to meet an audience, as it were.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It was horrible. It was the Hollywood Reporter was the main one that did the story, and they get pelters for them, absolute pelters from
rightfully so.
From all sorts of filmmakers as well at the time. They were saying this is ridiculous. You know, how can you do this for one film, but you're not doing it for all sorts of other ones all around it that performed far worse than it did on similar budgets. But yes, there we go. Welcome to New Hollywood. Yeah. Okay, so we are on to our number one picks. Now, your number one pick is The Girl with the Needle.
Which I do believe is streaming on Mubi. This is a Magnus von Horn film from Denmark, shot in black and white, beautifully so, and it takes us to the early 20th century, just after World War I, and it's sort of based on one of the country's most notorious serial killers, which I feel like you don't associate serial killers with Denmark, that shiny, happy place where everything's perfect and lovely.
Yeah.
So we're talking about sort of middle-aged actors sort of getting their flowers. Trine Dyrholm in this, who obviously is a sort of grande dame of Danish film and TV. She is perfect in this. She plays Dagmar, who is a woman who helps young girls who basically have got pregnant out of wedlock, because obviously there's still a stigma around that. But she's not helping them in the way that the young girls think she might be helping them, and I'll say no more on that. The title obviously alludes to the way young girls tried to deal with the pregnancy problem back in the day. There is quite a dramatic scene with Vic Carmen-Son, who obviously tries to end her pregnancy. But it's not just a sort of period drama or a sort of like fancy art house black and white film. It has loads to say about poverty and how gender is a big factor in poverty, because it's only women, obviously, that can get pregnant. Trauma, desperation, working women, and this notion of choice, which at that point in time feels like a fairy tale concept. It is absolutely incredible. There are some scenes that are very difficult to watch, there's no doubt about it. But if you want to see actors really at the top of their game, you know, in a film that's just beautifully lit, beautifully shot, and tells quite a horrific story, this is the film for you. I would really, really encourage people to seek it out. It is brilliant.
Excellent. I will seek it out, obviously, since it's on Mubi and I still have access. So yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. It must be quite something if it's at the top of your list, because obviously it's been a reasonably stacked year.
I saw it in January last year, again, so really, really early on in the year, but I have not been able to stop thinking about some of the shots, like, and the imagery, like, of certain characters, how they're framed, how they're lit, and it's just, at times it feels like a ghost story as well. It's just, it's so good. Yeah, seriously, I would urge everyone to go and seek that out. Don't be put off by the 1 inch barrier, as Bong Joon-ho would say. Correct.
So Thomas's number one is The Long Walk, which I was a wee bit surprised at. It was a very good film. I saw it in the cinema. It's directed by Francis Lawrence, based on a story by Stephen King, or Richard Bachman, as it was originally, because it was when he was doing the whole, you know, are my books selling because of the name, or are my books selling because they're good books? And obviously they are good books, Stars David Johnson and Cooper Hoffman as two young guys who are part of a group of young men who take part in the annual Long Walk, and it's basically winner takes all. They cannot go below 3 miles an hour, and they have to continually walk until there is only one left, and they get the cash prize and a wish at the end of it as well. It's an excellent movie. David Johnson his career trajectory is right up there. Obviously, Alien Romulus and Industry on TV. He's really good. I mean, again, you would be struggling to work out where he actually comes from because of his range of accents as well. He's very, very good. And obviously Cooper Hoffman comes from very good stock, if nothing else.
I was going to say, I assume, judging by that surname, he is son of, or maybe grandson of? I'm not sure.
Son. He's the son of, yes. Yes. So, yeah, he is really good in it as well. His character is the one that you sympathise with more than any of the others. But for a competition where they're all, it's basically winner takes all. It's like people coming together and actually like forming friendships and things like that as well. And it's really, really good movie. And then on the other side of it, you've got the fact that there's a military presence with them at all times, because as soon as they stop walking, they get shot in the head, and just left at the side of the road. And it's supposedly it's televised. I'm assuming it's televised, but you never see any of the media cameras or anything around it. And then towards the end, there's a sort of big, obviously, end sequence, which indicates that people have been watching it because they know who their favourites are and all this kind of thing. But yeah, it's done really, really well. And it makes drama out of the smallest thing, because obviously how do you sustain interest where people are just walking, and when they stop walking, they get killed? So there's things like, well, how do you go to the toilet? Because, you know, you're given 30 seconds. How do you do that? How do you manage that? And then there's one where I've never thought of this at all, but the tension involved with the slight incline of a road and it totally changes everything, because it comes into play after about 45 hours on the road, and they're all obviously a bit weary, and then suddenly they're having to do this incline in the dark and the rain, and you're thinking they're all knackered already, so how do, and it's like all over the place. Great movie, really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Again, it was in contention. In fact, it was originally my number 10 film, but I swapped things around, and Nosferatu came into it basically because I thought, I can't leave that film out.
Yeah.
There's no way I can leave it out.
It's so hard. Yeah, I could have done a top 20, like, easily.
Easily, yeah.
I miss, again, the long walk and the film we're about to talk about, because I know it's your number one. I miss at the cinema because they were there for 5 minutes. So this is my plea to cinemas for 2026 and beyond. Going to give us a chance to actually get there and watch the bloody film. That would be lovely.
So, having hinted at it, my number one is One Battle After Another. Now, you said you've seen this film?
No, I haven't. That's what I'm saying. So that and the long walk I haven't seen. And we were desperate to go and see it, but because obviously half of Cineworld was locked off to make VIPs, there just was not a time that we could actually make. So yeah, hence my plea. Please leave things in the cinema for longer than 5 minutes. I appreciate that the likes of Wicked and Minions will make you the big bucks, but I'm begging you, can you have some other stuff on as well?
I think Wicked was not the hit that they really expected, to be honest. It was good, and it brought in crowds initially, but I think it tailed off fairly quickly.
Well, it's the darker half of the show, like, and it's not got that big end piece the way the first one. Obviously, we all know the first one ends with defying gravity, the way the first act does. So it doesn't really have that big build up the way that the first one did.
No, I don't. It doesn't have the longevity as far as the cinema run's concerned, which was a wee bit of a surprise. But anyway, back to One Battle After Another. Paul Thomas Anderson film, loosely based on Vineland by Thomas Pynchon, although he's been at pains to say it's very loosely based on that. And it's got Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn. Sean Penn is fucking magnificent in this film as Colonel Lockjaw, this military guy, and he's horrible. Such a horrible guy in this. Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, and Tiana Taylor as well. And the daughter in this film, basically it's these two revolutionaries, part of the French 76 movement, who are a couple as well, and they have a child, and then she disappears, and basically the whole operation is blown, so they all go into hiding. So it's like 15 years later, and the Leonardo DiCaprio character has this daughter, and he's basically a stoner at this point. He just walks about a dressing gown all the time and things like that. And like there's a scene really early on, and it's not giving anything away. He's in a parent-teacher conference, and the teacher's saying, "Your daughter's doing really well. You know, she focuses. She's a natural leader and all this." And he starts crying, and he's like, because he's so fucking out of it more than anything else. And then he's saying, it's tears of joy, it's tears of happiness, and I'm just so glad that she's doing well. But you can just tell that he's a complete mess because he's got like a big moustache, and the hair in a ponytail and all this sort of stuff. And the title kind of informs what the film is like. It is just one thing after another. It just keeps going and keeps going. And again, there's a car chase sequence in this, which is so fucking tense. And it's just because of the way they shot it. There's no like gunplay or anything to do with it. It's just three cars following each other on a desert road, and it's just the way that it's shot, and it's so tense. And it only goes on for about 3 or 4 minutes, and you're thinking, this is magnificent. Just such a good film. And it's obviously career best DiCaprio as well. He's great, and he's been told, keep it loose. Keep it, you're this kind of a mellow guy, but you're obviously a former explosives expert. So, you've got certain things that you can do and you can't do and all that. And he just goes with it. And there's no vanity in this performance. And then you've got Benicio del Toro as a karate sensei, and everything he does is very calm and measured, and he never gets flustered or anything. And it's just the way that all these characters kind of interact, and it's just so good. Such a good movie. And I saw, obviously, it was quite late on in the year when it came out, and I kind of thought, is this going to live up to the sort of hype that's been sort of surrounding it? And it does. It really does. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think it's going to do an awards sweep as well, by all accounts.
I think it's going to do well. It's one of these ones, it's a very accessible film. It's not, I mean, it topped the Sight and Sound poll for the year, which is quite unusual because usually they have something that's been screened once in a Soho cinema, and it's something like in ancient Greek or something, only 7 people in the world have seen, but they picked one battle after another as well. So yes, I think you're right. It will be in contention, especially Leo and Paul Thomas Anderson as well, because it's a very accessible film of his, whereas sometimes his films can be a wee bit difficult to get into, some of his later ones. But yes, it's one that's united all critics and stuff like that as well, whereas previous ones, like Inherent Vice, for instance, which was a fantastic movie, but a lot of people hated that movie.
Yeah, everyone seemed to hate that. I seem to remember at the time, actually. But yeah, this seems to definitely be a bit of an awards darling, so I will make a point of trying to see it before award season sort of gets into full swing, because I did want to see it in the cinema. I think it was out round about the same time as another blockbuster, and it was never going to have a fighting chance of some screen space.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? But things will be better because obviously your local Cineworld is pretty much back to normal.
Yeah, it is now. I did want to go and see, obviously, like Sentimental Value in between Christmas and New Year, but then Christmas not well and stuff like that. So there's things like that I've missed out on from last year that, but again, they'll do really well at awards and stuff like that. So I feel like I've got a lot of catching up to do and homework before award season gets into full swing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. It really is, but I think things will get better. I really do think so. So that's our top 10s. So what I thought before we go on to the sort of second half is just take a look at the top 10 movies, box office wise, in terms of worldwide gross. Now, what do you think was the number one film?
I feel like it's got to be something like Superman or Fantastic Four, or maybe even Wicked. I don't know, but you're gonna tell me it's like some random kids film that I've never heard of or something.
Yep, 2 of the films you mentioned don't even make the top 10. Superman is at number 10. Fantastic Four is number 12. Wicked is at number 13.
Oh, God,
still very respectable numbers. Yeah. The number one film is a film called Ne Zha 2, and it grossed $2.2 billion worldwide, which is crazy because it grossed $23,000 in the US, and the rest of the money basically came from. And I knew this was one of the biggies because it had been about, but it with a lot of these films, they don't press screen them or anything, and it is a very specialist audience, but there's a massive audience for this. The first film was really, really big as well. So that was number one. Number two was Zootopia 2, which I knew was going to be big because the first film, because it was Zootropolis here, I think it was called, and that was 1.5 billion. Avatar, 1.1 billion at number 3, which was...
Are people still going to see that? Really?
I've not seen the third film, but I've been told by, I think, 3 different people that it's exactly the same as the second film. The story is just the same. Different visuals, same story, which is not great. Number 4 was Lilo and Stitch, which was the biggest film of the summer, obviously, with just over 1 billion. Number 5 is the Minecraft movie, which was 958,000. Wow. Yeah, 958 million, I should say. And then Jurassic World Rebirth at 869 million. Number 7 was Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle, which was 724 million. Again, never seen it. I know it was big, and I know that obviously one of the biggest films in the year was obviously the K-pop Demon Hunters, but that was only in cinemas for about a week or something in order to try and qualify for awards run, and then they get knocked back. They told no because the film is out on Netflix first. So yeah. Then was How to Train Your Dragon at 363, and then there was F1 the movie, which is the highest grossing original film of the year, because it's not, I know it's related to F1, but it's not part of a film franchise.
Wow.
And then at number 10, Superman. And obviously beyond that, you've got all sorts of things. An interesting one is at number 15 was The Conjuring Last Rites with nearly $500 million.
Do you know what, though? I can see that. It's a beloved franchise. I can see that. I'm honestly so shocked that you've not mentioned Sinners or Nosferatu or any of the biggies like Weapons.
Weapons was number 22.
Wow.
I know.
Do you know, it's really quite shocking that, like, as you've said, within that top 10, there's like one original idea. And it's not even an original idea, because obviously it ties it literally, it uses the F1 calendar as its basis. I did hear that Joseph Kosinski's talking about making a sequel to that as well, because it did so well, obviously. Not really
F1
sure.
F1 2?
Yeah. Not really sure where it goes from how it finished up in the last film, but part of me is like, the state of cinema is really depressing, and like that, you know, really big films that are going to do well at the awards ceremonies and stuff just don't have a chance when How to Train Your Dragon 85 is at the cinema, and Lilo and Stitch, the cartoon, I never liked, so I was never going to go and see the live action version either. But and I know we're going to go on and talk about what's coming out in 2026, but in a way I feel like that list is so alien to me, because it's just not reflective of my cinema experience for the year.
Yeah, that's why there's a real disconnect between awards season and what people have actually seen. If people are expecting to watch these programs and say, well, Wicked was the biggest film of the year, so why, you know, for me it was the biggest film of the year, why is it not being represented? Why are we talking about films that hardly anybody saw, or, you know, that kind of thing? Why, you know, it was, and it's always the case, the Oscars, not so much the Golden Globes, but the BAFTAs as well, they go towards the more dramatic ones, the ones where there's people in peril, or, you know, there's some sort of thing like that. And they don't help themselves, because, and it's the same with Sight and Sound as well. They put all these films in their lists that people have not seen, and they're not going to see, because they're not actually coming out until this year. And then in some cases, like you have mentioned quite rightly, with at least 2 of your picks in the top 10, it's very difficult to see them. Not through the fact that, you know, they're particularly obscure or anything. They were obviously out there, but they haven't found a home. And we've talked about that before. Obviously, we talked about that when we did our Italian films and all that as well. It's just trying to find a home for some of these films that are really, really good, and people don't get a chance to see them. So it's not great. So yes, it's disappointing, but it's not unexpected.
No, that I mean,
Especially
I'm
with
not.
these films.
Yeah, I'm not shocked by any of this as well, because obviously, like, kids' films and family films will always perform well because there is an audience for that. And fair play to the Indian film as well, because again, there's a huge audience in the Indian market as well for because if you think about it, what was the film they did the dance at the Oscars? RRR, that was called
Yes.
one that was
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Netflix.
that's right, yeah.
Huge hit, but also a huge hit internationally as well,
Yeah.
not just with Indian audiences. So there's a lot to sort of unpick there, I guess. But I just think, as I've said, there's quite a disconnect, and that's not me being like snobby or anything. It's just that a lot of them are obviously children's films, and that's not something that I tend to go and see unless it's a sort of nostalgia kick, like Toy Story 5 or whatever that's coming out next year. Do we need it? No. Am I going to go and see it? Probably. Because it's just there is that nostalgia attached to it. But I'm really shocked that some of the bigger, what I thought were the bigger films like Your Sinners, Superman, all that sort of thing, are just not even touching the top 10 at all.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It really is. I did worldwide box office rather than US box office, so that would have made a difference because obviously it was only 1% of their gross actually came from US box office for the number one film. So yes, interesting times. But we say that every year. It's always interesting.
I know.
Right. So what we thought of in order to round off this discussion is we've obviously done our top tens, but we would going to have a wee look at the sort of the best in terms of the films. Now, we didn't set any sort of criteria on this, so there may be a wee bit of overlap with some of the films that we talked about before, and I've just noted that I've missed out my number 4 film as well, so I'll talk about that later on as well, which is fine. That's okay. So we thought we'd talk about various types of films. So we'll start with blockbuster. What was your best favourite blockbuster of the year?
So I think if we're going on favourites alone, I am going to say The Running Man. I had an absolute blast with this film in a way that I know that critics did not. It was, I don't want to say panned, that's not fair. It just wasn't, it didn't set the head on fire amongst the film critiquing elite. But I thought this was brilliant. I'm really sort of impressed by how they've sort of taken that story, which obviously is, several decades old, and made it, talk about, tech oligarchs and the poor fighting amongst each other and, being sort of pimped out on television for the sake of entertainment. Like, it's all so relevant. It doesn't necessarily feel like a Edgar Wright film. I wouldn't say it's not quite got that sort of like quirk and charm maybe that you would be used to with this type of films, but I think it's brilliant. There's obviously some fun Glasgow spotting as well for those of you who listen to us locally, and of course the performances are absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's a super stacked cast. Like, you've got Glenn Powell, who is phenomenal in the leading role, but you've also got the likes of Josh Brolin and Lee Pace and Colman Domingo. It's just, I think it's a really good film. And I think that in terms of blockbusters go, it gives you everything that you want. There's the high octane chase sequences, there's the personal family drama, and there's as I say, a really good cast. So I would say that was my favourite popcorn munch of the year. Yeah.
My favourite popcorn munch film of the year was F1. I really enjoyed that film.
I was so torn between that as well.
Yeah. What surprised me was it wasn't the Mission Impossible film, which was good, but not as entertaining as this film. There was a lot of thought put into this film in terms of how they actually showed the races and all that, and I really enjoyed that whole thing around that, and the fact that obviously it's like Brad Pitt in a racing car as well. So it really worked for me. The only part it didn't work for me was the romance part, but again, you kind of expect that not to work in these blockbuster films anyway, so that was good. But the whole experience of it's definitely a film that you see in a cinema, just for the way that it's put together in terms of the sound and the visuals. Obviously, seeing racing in as big a screen as possible It's as close as you're going to get to actually seeing it. In fact, it may be actually a wee bit better than seeing it live, because when you see it live, it's like 200 miles an hour, something going past you.
Yeah.
So it may be
Yeah.
maybe a slightly lesser experience when you're actually watching the race, I suppose. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Really, really good fun. And it didn't have to have fantastic performances because it's a blockbuster film. I know the story was the story. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was excellent. So, best horror.
Oh, there's a wee bit of a short list for this. So I had thought about The Ugly Stepsister, which is a Scandinavian sort of retelling of this sort of Cinderella story, which is great. Lots of body horror in that. So if you're okay with blood and guts and tapeworms, you'll be fine with that. But I came back to my top 10. Eventually, we talked about Keeper, we talked about Weapons, but it has to go to Bring Her Back. I just think it was such a phenomenal piece of cinema, like such an underrated horror as well. Like I feel like it flew under the radar for a lot of people as well, because again, not much cinema time, but I think the performances are great. The jump scares are executed perfectly, and yeah, there's the imagery. There's so much imagery in that film that I cannot get out of my head, no matter how hard I try. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite of the year.
Same for me. Obviously it was outside of my top 10 films, but I wanted to choose another horror film because horror has been such a important genre this year for me. So there's been so many films that I've really, really enjoyed, and I wanted to give a mention to this film because I loved it, and I still keep thinking about the teeth. It's just
I know.
It's just
awful.
But yeah, like I said earlier, Sally Hawkins is phenomenal in this movie. She's just so good, and given that she had this over the last couple of years, she was playing very, very different roles. So to see once again, just to be reminded of the range that she has as an actor is just absolutely fantastic. So, non-English language, what did you choose for this?
I went for the obvious. I went for The Girl with the Needle. Like I cannot, again, like I just can't stop thinking about the imagery of that film. It was number one on my list. I'll recommend it to anyone. And even if you're not familiar with like Scandinavian cinema, like this is probably like quite a good in, because there's lots of different sort of, as I say, it's like a period drama, but it's a horror. It's also a true crime. So there's lots of different like genres combined in it as well. So I think it's definitely one that's worth seeking out.
Nice. Mine was From Ground Zero, which is a film. It's 22 short films in this anthology, and it's films from Gaza, and it's all these filmmakers, and they've done all sorts of, it's like 4 or 5 minute films, and they're based around all sorts of different stories and events and stuff, some to do with the conflict, some not to do with it, and it's all about focusing on the people basically, and it's really intriguing because you're just getting this like small glimpse of like these people's lives and what they're actually having to cope with over the last couple of years, and the constant noise. There's a constant noise of drones in basically every film because there's always drones over like Gaza City and everything, and it's really drones. But they never mention it. They never mention this sort of thing. There's things that they do not talk about. They do not talk about the Israelis, and they don't sort of. It doesn't need to be politicized because you can see on screen exactly what's been going on. So they don't need to emphasize that. But yeah, it was like this really, really powerful documentary, obviously, and it was non-English as well. So, indie film. Now, this is a bit of a weird one, a strange one, because you can have all sorts of things in here, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, I could easily pick some out of my top 10, like of, Sorry Baby, Pillion, or I Swear, but I went with a film that I saw at the Glasgow Film Festival that I fell in love with completely. So it's a film called Spilt Milk, and it's about a young boy who is living in Dublin in a lot of poverty, and his brother goes missing, but the young boy is obsessed with Kojak, obviously the TV detective. So he thinks that he can be Kojak and solve where his brother is. But actually, this is a film that's about like drug abuse and, as I say, working class people and the poverty and alcoholism and domestic abuse that was going on in Dublin in these sort of like ghettoized blocks of flats at that time. So what you think is a sort of like light-hearted kids detective movie is actually something that's really a lot more dramatic and emotional, and it really, really got to me when I saw it. Like, I was very, very sort of like taken aback watching it, and it did really well at the Glasgow Film Festival. It was obviously up for the Audience Award, and it's gone on to obviously other film festivals as well. But again, hopefully it's one that will get picked up by some sort of streaming platform here, because it is genuinely fantastic to watch.
Brilliant. I have not seen it, but sounds good. Sounds excellent. My choice, I'm going to pick two, basically because I basically fucked up earlier on and didn't mention my number 4 film, which was The Ballad of Wallace Island.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I just loved that film, and obviously the whole story behind the film as well, that it was originally a short film, and they spent 10 years trying to develop this into a full feature, and getting Carey Mulligan on board gave it the impetus to actually get some money behind it and actually get the film made. And it's such a brilliant movie, and it was such done in like a bit of a shoestring and everything as well, so really good. The other film is a film called The Cut, which is a psychological thriller. Stars Orlando Bloom as an unnamed boxer who's given the chance to fight for the title under the circumstances that the contender for the world, I think it's the middleweight title, broke his hand or something beforehand and couldn't box, so they needed to draft somebody in quickly, and they drafted this guy in who had a shot earlier on in his career and basically bottled it, and they're giving him another chance. And it has very little to do with the actual boxing itself. It's to do with the fact that he has to lose so much weight in order to sort of meet the requirements in order to get into the ring. And it's like a body horror film and a thriller at the same time. And a lot of it's actually based in the hotel rooms in the place that he's actually staying ahead of the fight. And it's just, it takes you to all sorts of different places, and you don't know what to believe, because as he is dehydrating himself in order to lose weight, it affects his mind, and you're right there with him, and you don't know what's real and what's not real. And there's a fantastic performance by John Turturro, who is this renowned trainer, and he is very adept at getting people down to weights and stuff. And he does all sorts of things, and it involves needles and ice baths and all. It's like really the sort of what he puts himself through, what the character puts himself through, and what Orlando Bloom puts himself through for this role is just immense. And this was just like a wee sort of tiny film. It got a UK film release, but again, it was like in and out in a week, and it was really one that I kind of thought, you know, if it had been given a bit more, then people would be saying, that Orlando Bloom, he's actually not bad. He's done pretty well here, you know. He's not the actor that we thought. And again, he's been in a few things in 2025 as well. So he was the one about the improv actors who pretend to be drug dealers as well, and he was really good in that as well. So that's like 2 roles within the space of about 7-8 months, where he's just completely knocked out of the park. Totally different types of roles, but yes, it's amazing, and it's such a shame. And I suppose that's the fate of the indie film, isn't it? I suppose that it doesn't really get seen, but yes, highly recommended. So, best soundtrack.
Oh, this is an easy one. There was no debate around this. Sinners. 1,000 times Sinners. Like, Ludwig Göransson's actual score is stunning, and then you throw in the silky, velvety vocals of Miles Caton. Like, I Lied to You is one of the best songs I've listened to in the past 5 years, never mind the past year. So yeah, there was no competition for this. It's bluesy, it's jazzy, but then you've also got like the Rocky Road to Dublin and Wild Mountain Thyme thrown in there as well. It's just, it's incredible. That's just, it said a lot about the film that I will happily, a bit like the F1 movie actually, that I'll happily sit and listen to the soundtrack on its own, and I can just picture it all in my head perfectly. Just so good.
Yeah, I mean, the soundtrack is just fantastic, and it totally encapsulates the film, where it's that one scene where they're sitting in the car, and he starts, he says, no, play something for me, and he starts playing it, and just the look on Michael B. Jordan's face, and it looks
it's like genuine surprise. Yeah,
just fantastic. Yeah, it was the same for me. Sinners was right up there. It was absolutely fantastic. But also the F1 soundtrack. Not so much there was two soundtracks. There was a soundtrack with all the songs and everything, but there was the Hans Zimmer score, which is just amazing. Just, I love that. Another one that you can just listen to on its own while going, room, 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 room.
Top tip, if you're struggling with productivity at work, fling the Hans Zimmer F1 score on. It makes you type faster, I swear.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, animated film.
So for this one, and I watched it too soon after the death of our cat, unfortunately, and just ended up a big snotty mess. But I think I would have had I watched it on its own anyway. So I loved the film Flow that came out this year as well. So it kind of feels like a sort of like end of the world situation where everything's all flooded and this cat is left abandoned by its owner. So this black cat has to survive. And there's no talking in it because the cat just encounters other animals. So they make animal sounds and that's it. And they go on these different journeys to kind of try and find safety and food and shelter. And honestly, be in a good psychological place if you're going to watch this, because I think it's on Mubi at the moment, but it's phenomenal. The animation's incredible. The way they actually capture the cat itself, like if you've ever had a cat in your house, you'll know, like, you know, the big stretch, the little toe bean, you know, the bunting as well, like the wee booping and the way they sort of like cuddle round things. It is absolutely gorgeous to watch. And as I say, there's no talking, so you just follow this story. You're never quite sure really why the world has ended up in this situation. You just kind of go with it, but it's just it's emotionally devastating and beautiful to look at. So it sort of ticks the boxes of how I like my animation to be. Nice.
I didn't see too much animation this year, unfortunately, but one that I did see and really enjoyed was The Bad Guys 2, which I just loved. I'd seen the first one a couple of years ago and just thought it was absolutely fantastic, and this is basically more of the same. It's up at the same sort of high standard. Sam Rockwell is in the lead role, and it's all animated animals in this, and they form part of it. They basically carry out heists, hence the bad guys. They do bad things. But in the second one, they are actually reformed characters, and they're trying to do the right thing and like get jobs and all this. And Mr. Wolf goes for a job interview at a bank, and the bank manager says, "You do know you robbed us 3 times." So, he says, "So, you know, when can I start then?" You know, so it's just silly and it's fun, and it has like a lot of the returning characters coming back in again, which obviously it works very well. It's a very high standard of writing, and obviously the animation is very sort of fluid and everything. It works really well because you've got lots of like car chases and sort of death-defying things that you can't do in real life, but you can do quite easily. And there's like Sam Rockwell was having a ball in this role. You just love it. You can just tell that he's really, really enjoying the fact that he's playing this sort of lead character, the suave lead character, because when you actually look at Sam Rockwell, you know, he doesn't have that same sort of film star looks, if you like. He's a very good actor and everything, but you know what I mean. But loved it. I thought that was a fantastic movie. I'd like to have seen some more animated stuff, because obviously the Predator one and obviously Flow, which I noted on movie as well, but I haven't seen those, so unfortunately cannot talk about them. So, best rewatch. So for rewatch, we just decided on anything at all that we'd watched this year. It didn't have to be a rewatch. A 2025 film is probably not going to be done too often anyway. So
I'm going to give some honourable shout outs before I talk about the one that I love the most. So I rewatched The Vourdelak because I joined the Vampire Videos podcast to talk about that with them, which again is on Amazon Prime. Highly recommend if you like a vampire film that's doing something a bit different, seek it out. I also rewatched Psycho. I mean, I could watch that every week and still find something new about that film. I absolutely adore it, and I'm still convinced to this day that I could fix Norman. He just needs a good cuddle. And finally, Bride of Frankenstein, which you and I both saw, obviously with a live orchestra as well, which was just a real treat. That was a phenomenal experience. But my favourite rewatch, which we spoke about on this podcast, and will always be my favourite rewatch anytime I get the chance to look at it, was The Home Game, which obviously is the Icelandic football documentary. Like, I just think it's so rare that you see a film that really you connect with, even though you're, you know, a million miles away and you're nothing to do with the topic. but I just find it so joyous and so uplifting. And yeah, I get very emotional when I watch it. I feel like, it's like watching your team like reach the Champions League final and you're willing them on. I love an underdog story, and I love obviously that they've supported our pod and shared it as well when we put that out into the ether. So thank you very much to Smari and the guys for doing that. I will never run out of good things to say about that film.
It's a very good pick, actually, yeah, because obviously I hadn't seen it until we were doing the pod on it, and loved it. It was a great film. Obviously, it's backed up by the fact that I had lots of nice things to say about it. But my favourite, I've watched quite a lot of stuff again in the last year, because I watched a lot of the Mission Impossible films to sort of catch up for the last release. But my favourite is The Apartment from 1960. I watched that again this year for the first time in maybe about 5-10 years, and just loved it. I mean, Billy Wilder at the top of his game, really coming off the back of Some Like It Hot and producing this, which is just absolutely fantastic. Like Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine together is just absolutely, pretty much. You can't go wrong with it, and it's a film that similar to sort of Psycho in that you find different things in it when you watch it in different times, and it's just wee moments and stuff like that. This time I found out that they used very small people for the back of the shot when they were showing the office environment to give it more perspective. Yeah, they made the people were shorter as they went back, so that because
I'd been right at the back.
it made it look better without having to do any sort of trickery. They just got short people, and you're thinking, bravo, my friend. So yes. So let me see, what have we got left? We shall do biggest disappointment or biggest miss of the year. Now, our listeners should note that we're not saying the worst film of the year, because there have been dozens of worse films over the years. I am with Simeon that I watch an awful lot of shite in terms of films, and when I went back through my list for the year, there was a number of them, but we are not doing that.
This is just opinion.
One that we were looking forward to and were disappointed by, or was expected to do really well and just did not happen. So what was your choice of this?
So I'm going to cheat because I've got two that I really couldn't pick between. So the first one for me was 28 Years Later. I think because in my head, I hold the first one to such a high level. And I feel like now that's definitely been lightning in a bottle that they haven't quite been able to recapture. Obviously, the Bone Temple is coming out. That may change my mind. But I felt this was really messy. I didn't really understand why there was Jimmy Savile references in there, and I just felt they could have done more with certain characters. Like I felt Jodie Comer was given a bit of a bum role, but I'm finding that more and more. And I've said this about Alex Garland, like the problem I'm having with when I've looked at a lot of his films is I find them very misogynistic, perhaps not intentionally so, but that is the sort of theme that I am getting. So I was really disappointed in that, because I'd sort of hyped myself up for something really quite cool, and it just never delivered on that scale. And the second one was The Smashing Machine, because I really thought, Benny Safdie film, it looked really like the way it was shot looked really cool, and Emily Blunt obviously is phenomenal, and I thought, give Dwayne Johnson a chance. Like, he's never done anything like this before, but it missed the emotional beats that I guess I was looking for, and partly that was down to, unfortunately, his performance as well. He's probably just not at that level quite yet, and I did really want to enjoy it as a film, but it just sort of missed the mark for me for a number of reasons. So and these are, like I say, these are just my opinion. They're by far and away, like, so 28 Years Later obviously did really well at the box office, and there is another one coming out. So this is just my opinion on films that I had sort of had really high expectations for that just didn't quite meet those.
You may enjoy The Bone Temple. I saw it on Monday at a press screening. It's embargoed until the 13th, I think is, but that obviously the pod won't be out before then anyway. It's a completely different type of film to 20 Years Later. It focuses on both the Jimmies and also, but it gives you a bit of context about why they are like they are and why Lord Sir Jimmy is like he is in this film. And it explains a bit more and also focuses on the Doctor, Dr. Ian.
That he finds,
Yeah, and Samson as well. So there's surprisingly, it doesn't really focus on the infected too much in the general sense, whereas the previous ones had quite a bit of that. It doesn't. It's more of a personal, two personal stories that come together in the third act. It's actually, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty excellent film, and it stays true to sort of the original idea of, about people in peril and all that. But yeah, and there's some very good use of Duran Duran in it as well, which is always
good. That's very random.
But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. You may think it's similar to 28 Years Later, but I thought there was a big sort of change in tack with it, and I enjoyed 28 Years Later, as you know.
I know you did,
so,
yeah.
So yes, okay. The biggest disappointment for me was Black Phone 2. I was so looking forward to that movie. The first one was perfection. It was mostly in one location.
Loved it. We loved it on the pod.
It was creepy. It made use of masks, which is always nice. And it was fantastic performances as well. Ethan Hawke, just splendid in this. But what they did with the follow-up to it was they took it away from the one location sort of idea and expanded the world and sort of brought it into the realms of where did the grabber come from and things like that. And so you actually only see the black phone once in one scene, and then it's just any other phone as well. So they could have called it Any Other Phone rather than the black phone, because it's just any phone that doesn't work. The boy could hear, and it was really disappointing. It was really weak, and it was so dull, which is not a great thing to say about a horror film. And you knew exactly what was going to happen, and there was almost like a big boss fight at the end of it, and you're going, you really don't need this. It doesn't need to be like this at all. It was just nonsense as far as I was concerned, which was a shame because, like I say, we were very up for the first one, and it was one of my favourites from that year, so.
Perhaps one of those films that just didn't require a sequel, but unfortunately a bit of a victim of its own success, Yeah,
they obviously thought they had a decent idea, but it was really just expanding out the world, and it didn't really help it too much. There was the things in there that didn't need to be talked about or made into like a whole sort of big plot point. You just take some things as read. You just say, well, that's, they're like that because horrible childhood or whatever. And you don't need to understand, what's behind all that. So yeah, it wasn't smashing. So rather than end on a bit of a downer, I thought we would end on something a little more upbeat. So what was the surprise for you in terms of films this year?
So we have talked about a few of these films already, like Keeper, because tonally that just wasn't what I was expecting. A Real Pain, how beautiful it was, and The Ballad of Wallace Island, which you mentioned, because that just took me out. That literally was the surprise film at the Glasgow Film Festival last year.
Yes.
And it was such a joy to watch. But for me, it has to be I Swear. Like, I probably went in with absolutely no expectations whatsoever. I was just hopeful that people could do the accent. And I was just completely blown away by how much I loved it and how passionate I felt about it and how exciting it was to talk about it with people afterwards as well. And as I say, the performances are brilliant. And I hope that, like said Robert Arameo, etc., does really well on the award circuit after this as well, because I just think it's such a powerful story, and the way they brought it to life just really took me by surprise. I was, laughing because he does even say himself in the film, like, there are moments of Tourette's that are funny because it's just wildly inappropriate, but then you're also breaking your heart because there's this young boy who, all of a sudden at like 13 or 14. It's like his body completely betrays him, and there's no understanding of it whatsoever. And his family are quite shit to him, and obviously everyone at school is shit to him. How do you navigate adulthood? Going to a pub, going to a night out, trying to get a girlfriend, trying to get a house, when everyone just thinks you're like the village freak, especially such a small community as well. So completely took me by surprise how much I love it. And as I say, I can't say enough good things about Robert Aramayo. The physicality and the verbal performance that he puts in is just incredible, and I'm so looking forward to you watching it as part of your Kirky cinema. I think there'll be a few wee hankies and sniffles at the end.
Definitely,
it's quite something. Yeah.
Oh, I think so, yes. I am definitely looking forward to it. It's been one that I've not heard anything bad about this film. There's been no sort of negative press at all, which is really, really unusual. So, yes, definitely looking forward to it. My surprise is much smaller scale for me. It was a film called Relay, which came out maybe September time. It stars Riz Ahmed and Lily James. It's a thriller about a man who is a fixer for whistleblowers who have changed their mind and they want to return all the information. I think I briefly mentioned it when we were talking about what we were watching. And this fixer is the sort of middleman between the whistleblower who wants to give back material and the company who actually wants the materials back, because obviously they're very legally sensitive and incriminating in a lot of cases. He uses the relay service for the deaf in New York in order to talk between himself and the companies, and it's all completely anonymous as well, so they don't know who they're speaking to, and there's no way to trace who that person is. So that's the kind of there's your wee plot device in there, and it's just this absolutely fantastic wee thriller. I had no expectations of it when I went in to see it. I thought I could probably be quite boring, I'd just be kind of run of the mill. But the story grabbed me right away because of the premise of it. It's something that's quite unusual. It's a nice hook to get you in there, and then there's this whole cat and mouse game that goes on for basically the whole film about who you can trust and why are these people chasing them and how do they manage to, how do they manage to actually get the information in the first place, and why did they want to be a whistleblower and all this, and it just works really, really well. I mean, it's not like a particularly long film or anything. It's like about an hour and 40 minutes or something, and it just kind of zips by, and I just thought, this is fantastic. It's such a surprise. Not quite getting into sort of top 10 territory, but it was so much better than I expected it to be. I had such low expectations when I watched it, based on the fact that we see dozens of thrillers every year. So, and it's currently on Amazon Prime. So if anybody wants to watch it, they can watch it on there. Yeah, definitely worth a watch as far as I'm concerned.
That was a bit like when we did that double bill, though, the Amateur and Black Bag. I went into them with no expectations whatsoever and had an absolute blast. And sometimes I think that's the best thing is to go in sort of not... sometimes like that, the biggest disappointment is because you've set your expectations too high and you've got these, visions in your head about what a film might look like, and then it never quite lives up to that.
Yeah, a lot of it's based on the pre-publicity, isn't it? The trailers and stuff like that. And you get sometimes the wrong idea about how good or how bad a film is actually going to be. There's a guy, Jeff Kanata, on the film cast, and he does not watch trailers at all. He waits until the trailers are finished before watching a film.
I get that, because I think that's why so many people were disappointed in Keeper, because I feel like the trailers made that out to be a completely different film for what that was. It was just this really like sort of moody, slow burn, and yet the trailer, typical kind of horror trailer, made it look like it was like slice and dice, every 2 minutes a jump scare, that sort of thing, and it just wasn't. And I think that and we've said this before, trailers have a lot to answer for sometimes when you look at it and you look at the film and go, these are not the same thing.
Yes, it is a bit of a shame. The best trailers are the ones that don't really give too much. They'll show you a lot of images and they won't explain them in any sort of way. Christopher Nolan is very good at that because I think he's got control of his own.
I was going to say, I think he does his own trailers because obviously there's been the big, and we'll talk about that when we do our 2026 pod, the big drama over the the first trailer reveal for the Odyssey, and that's all his work, obviously. So yeah, I don't think he lets anyone else edit his trailers.
Yeah, quite right too, because full control. Let's face it.
Yeah.
So there we have it. Our wee review of 2025. I'm just looking at the clock here for the minute we've been talking about this as well. I may split it into 2 bits.
Just a small review,
yeah. So obviously that's our thoughts on the past year. We would love to hear from you guys about what your favourite films of 2025 were. I've obviously read Chrissy's list as well.
Yes,
which was very interesting, very good indeed. It was most enjoyable list and unique again. It was slightly different from all of our lists as well. There was obviously a wee bit.
There's like minor overlap. Yeah, but nothing.
Yeah. Which is quite interesting because for all of our lists, there's not that much overlap. We've probably got out of the 30 films, we've probably got maybe about 20 unique ones, which is pretty good going. But we found that in previous years as well. There's not that much overlap, which is obviously a good thing if we have opinions and likes and dislikes from different areas. Makes for good chat, and we do it all for you, dear listener. That's what we do. So as I say, if you've got anything that you think that we missed out on, and I'm sure there are quite a few that we missed out on in terms of 2025 films, because we can only see so many films, and there are gaps in what we can watch and when we can watch them, unfortunately. Please do let us know. You can find us on all the usual social media channels at Moviescramble. Please hunt us out. Where are we on? Apart from Twitter,
Blue Sky, Instagram,
Blue Sky,
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, excellent.
The usuals.
If you don't want your comments noted, you can always get in touch with us through the website and comment on the top 10 lists that are there, or send us an email at podcast@moviescramble.co.uk. As I say, probably the next one we do will be a preview for the next year, and then we'll go back into the reviews proper because there's an awful lot of stuff just out and coming out as well in terms of Oscar bait. Some better than others, and I do have early opinions on a couple of them as well. And I think I've possibly seen the worst film of 2026 already. But we shall discuss that later on.
Okay, well. I'm very excited.
There's a nice wee tease for us going forward.
Love it.
So once again, thank you for your ears. Thank you for all your support over the last couple of years when we've been doing this. We do appreciate anybody listening to us at all, so it doesn't sound as if we're just sort of hollering into the dark. So from me, until the next time, cheerio.
Bye.